back, and if you're new, hello, you're most welcome. This week it's the garden tour. Now you've seen inside the house. This week we're going to go all the way around the outside and we're going to cover everywhere. I've got 3 acres here. There's a lot to get to, so let's get into it. We're in Sussex, England, in a small village in a rural location, and this is the most peaceful place I've ever lived. As you come through the electric gates, the first thing that greets you is this huge conifer tree. It looks stunning all year round, but at this time of year it is particularly beautiful, producing these wonderful, I want to say berries, but I know these grow into cones, almost like cigar-like. We've got 2,000 lights on this, and this is our Christmas tree. As you come up the driveway, there are lawns on both sides, and we've got 3 really old apple trees. By this time of the year, they're normally absolutely covered in beautiful blossom, but we've had such strange weather here in the south of England this year. I think it's probably been the worst spring in my living memory. So whether we'll get an abundance of fruit this year, as we normally do, time will tell. When we first moved in, the driveway was much narrower and there was no real parking area. There was a lot of grass. So I did pull all of that back and create space for several vehicles. Fortunately, the garage block was already here, so the most I have to do is restain it each year. And this is one of hubby's finds from down at the local tip. It's an extremely heavy old mangle, which I keep meaning to create something out of, and I've never got round to it, so it's going to sit on the driveway now. From here, the pathway takes you up to the front door. Now, I do have a video on how I decorated the porch and all about this area, so please do check that one out. All the pots at the front are full of hydrangeas. I have a big weakness for them. Absolutely love them. And as they don't seem to need full sun all the time, they do very well here as this is north facing. We were very fortunate when we moved in. There was a lot of mature planting already here, so we've been able to design the garden into rooms, if you like. And now we're going into the next room, which is the kitchen courtyard. It's called that for 2 reasons. The outdoor kitchen is here, and it's also easily accessed from the main house kitchen. Again, it's north facing, but there is a lot of light that comes into this space. So there's always sunshine in here any point of time in the day. For the last few years, I've not put any pots along this retaining wall, and it's gone absolutely crazy. It's obviously loved the extra light that's come in. There are lovely big ferns in here, and they keep self-seeding, which is wonderful because I adore them. So I don't really interfere with this space too much. I'm not in there weeding all the time. Aside from taking the brambles out, I just let nature take its course. This is a harrow that I picked up at auction, which terrifies my husband. He thinks it looks like something from a medieval torture chamber. So the compromise is that I leave it outside and I don't bring it into the house. Now, I don't like spending a lot of money on outdoor furniture because it can be ridiculously expensive, so I use a lot of indoor furniture outdoors. This set was a charity shop find for just £30, and I've just found a sofa and 2 more chairs for £40. If you'd like more detail on the outdoor kitchen and the courtyard, then I do have a video with all of that in. Now it's time to leave that room and go to the next. This takes us through to the other side of the guest cottage and onto the veranda, where you can see the oldest apple tree that we have. This is a different variety to the others, and unfortunately I don't know what the variety is called, but it's so old it's actually got a hollow inside of it. I've no idea if this means that the tree is dying and it's going to fall over soon, but it's so beautiful. This room also has our fire pit and the cut flower bed. These were created last year when I did the renovations to create the guest cottage. As we've been having ridiculous weather here, just so much rain, unfortunately the fire pit has turned into a pond, but it will drain away and hopefully when we get some hot weather we'll be good to go again. Again, I'm not over enthusiastic on the weeding here, and I've let these oxeye daisies self-seed. I put tulip and narcissus into the cut flower bed just to get me started, but obviously these have to come out ready for me to put the seeds in. We'd gone away for a weekend, huge thunderstorm, and it pretty much ruined them all. But they're perennial tulips, so I will be able to plant them elsewhere in the garden. At the moment, they're in these old potato chitting trays just to make sure they don't get wet and they don't rot. I'll give them a few weeks to let the goodness go back into the bulb. I've decided I'm going to try and grow cut flowers from seed. And as I don't have a greenhouse, I'm direct sowing. At the back, I've put sweet pea and then larkspur. Then I've done a couple of rows of zinnia, sunbow mixed and purple prince. And at the front, I've done gypsophila and bunny tails. Now this is all very new to me because I normally buy plug plants and I've never used seed before. It could well just be a good feast for the birds. If you've got any tips for me, then please do drop them in the comments. I'd love your help. The steps here lead to the kitchen door. So as you can see, it's easy access for the kitchen courtyard. And it's east to southeast facing, so it does get lots of lovely sun. The lupins here are doing well in the old kitchen sink, and I've got more ferns self-seeding. I've tried some seeds in pots this year as well, so I've gone with some cornflower in here, and the gypsophila are starting to sprout here, so obviously the birds have missed these. Now I did mention I have a thing for hydrangeas. This is a bit of a hydrangea nursery corner here, so they're all at different stages of growth. I've just transplanted this rose into another pot. It's actually a plastic pot, but I've done a stone effect on it, and I do have a video to show how I do this. I like to use mirrors in the garden as well, and I have a blackbird that comes every morning to look at himself in the mirror. I found this cart at auction and it had big rubber wheels on it which didn't look right, so I just took the rubber off and then painted up the metal frame. And it's perfect for housing all the small pots. So I have hydrangea cuttings that I took last year. Some are growing better than others, and also any self-seeded ferns that I find. I like to pop them in small pots, and if they survive, great. You know, it's a free plant. And with the amount of land that we've got, we're always finding things popping up around the place. The hydrangea habit continues, and so does the seed planting. I've gone with cornflower in these two old metal trays, classic magic. So we will see whether the birds have had a good meal or not. I'm a lover of finding use for things I already have rather than buying new. And around the property, we've found lots of rocks, lots of stones. So we've used them in various places to create low walls or to edge lawns, to create dividers between gravel and lawn. Another thing we found an abundance of is this perennial geranium that flowers yellow. Again, if you know the name of it, please let me know. I am not good at names of plants. But I do know the name of this mare's tail. It is the bane of our summer life. It pops up everywhere. We've got this cute little pathway at the back of this border, so we'll now go through to probably the most formal part of the garden. There are some wonderfully established firs and yews here that were cut into shapes before we moved in, so we've just kept that going. So once a year, generally in the autumn, we come out with the hedge trimmers and everything gets a little bit of a haircut. I should just add at this point that we don't have gardeners. It is purely hubby and I. We don't have cleaners either. It's just the two of us that manage everything. I brought this urn and pedestal from my last house, which is an absolute dead weight, so that was a trick and a half. I've put seeds in this year, and the detritus in there is coming from the cherry tree that slightly overhangs that area. A week ago, this was a pink cloud of blossom. This is affectionately known as the mushroom because when you're in the house and looking out, it does look very mushroom-esque. The central bed here is the biggest bed that we've got. It's got some beautiful old well-established planting in it. And it's also got a lot of invasiveness going on as well. Now, this is a Japanese Acer. It's probably my most favourite plant. It does something all year round. It's got these amazing tactile leaves, and the twisted curly branches are to die for. We have a big invasion of wild garlic at the moment, but the bees love it, so it can stay. And so can the oxeye daisies as well, because again, the bees love them. We've tried keeping this bed under control, but I think sometimes you've just got to run with nature. You can't all be perfect. And things have a habit of growing where they want to grow. Hubby's a happy chap at the moment because the lawns have stripes, as though we've had so much water, everything's grown prolifically, including another perennial geranium here that flowers a beautiful deep pink. We have this lovely little sun trap here that is very private, very sheltered, although sadly the sunbeds haven't seen much action at all this year so far. Now there are a couple of other little areas within this room that I want to show you. Over here we have this frame that we inherited. Sadly, we lost a few of the climbers last year, so I planted daffs underneath and I'm just letting those die back, and I think probably roses next winter will be going in there. Areas of the garden were very overgrown when we moved in, so I never realised we had a well. Although I'm not certain whether it is an actual well or it's an underground water storage tank. We also have lots of natural springs here as well, so who knows, but it gives me the heebie-jeebies looking down into it, so let's move on. There's a wonderful archway in the middle of these conifers, and you go through and the first thing you see is the wonderful cherry blossom tree, which feeds into the magnolia. Sadly, it's not done terribly well this year. Again, all the rains. Beautiful old magnolia tree, which is entrance to Shed City, all in desperate need of a makeover. This little old one, lawnmower, pots, random stone ornaments that I keep finding in the garden. And then we have the storage shed for all my furniture, auction finds, objects that are just moving their way through the house. I've always got something to revamp. I built another log store from scaffold boards, and actually it's housing a lot of my old timbers. This is oak from the 1800s that was taken out of the house that I am going to do something with. And my old tractor shed is now empty, and I'm thinking spray painting booths. Definitely a project for the drier weather. Now it's time to leave the shed room and we go into what is the golf cage area and a mini orchard. Yes, that is on the wonk. I do need to go and straighten that up. In here we have a few trees, but they don't fruit terribly well. We've got apple, pear, and we've got plum. And the plum, unfortunately, the squirrels always beat me to it. I have not had a plum since I brought this from my last house. Through the next gate now, which is an area that divides very much the field from the main gardens, we have this beautiful old hedgerow that we trim once a year in the autumn, and there's a gap in it here, a little secret way through into the garden, and it continues right the way along. In order to do the big build here, I had to create some hard standing in the field and then a route up to the house. So unfortunately, I had to take away a section of the hedgerow. So when it came the time to start reinstating, I popped a couple of uprights up and a door that I'd found on eBay for £50 to create like a secret garden door. I'd also had to move some roses in order to build the veranda for the guest cottage. So I've planted those into this area as well. The idea being that it will grow into a lovely rose covered arch over the gate. The fencing that we've put in here, although deer can easily jump over it, it does seem to be acting as a great deterrent. They stay in the field now. And the field is my absolute happy place. It's the favourite place on the whole property. It even has a very practical burn pit. That's my old mailbox. I've just done a new one. I've put more wildflower plants into this area, and this one is full of all the old daffodil bulbs. So I'm quite excited for next spring to see what display we get. The cow parsley grows in abundance down here. beautiful, delicate, frothy flowers. Also, we have bracken. Now this can go to 5-6 feet tall, and the bluebells are out at the moment as well. We have a small wooded area down here that goes down to the stream. The wild garlic is in abundance, and there is your first glimpse of our little creek. It runs all the way along the eastern border, and when you've got a Labrador with his own stream, you have a very happy lab. The bridge is another boundary point, and there's also another stream that enters that point as well. So a little bit of a waterfall going on. There are deer tracks all over the field, but we have a lot more aside from just deer. We've got foxes, rabbits, moles, herons, even a brown owl, and down here the badgers live. We've identified about 8 different holes, so I think there's quite a community, but they do like to do renovations, all this fresh earth kicked out over the bluebells. I have seen them occasionally, but they stay down here, they stay out the main garden, so we all live in harmony. This is the deck area, which has not been touched since last year, so forgive me, it's a mess. This is how it looked last summer. So you know there's going to be a revamping video coming soon. Remember to turn on your notifications if you don't want to miss it. Please do subscribe if you're not already, and I'd just like to thank you so much for watching. Have a great week, and I hope to see you here next time.